In the heart of New York, the streets that once gleamed with hope now carry the burden of those who've been forgotten. Over 100,000 individuals seek shelter each night, not in the warmth of a home, but in the shadows of a city that promises opportunity to everyone. Families, veterans, and dreamers huddle together against the cold, their struggles hidden beneath the city's towering skyline. This is the reality of America today, inequality that cannot be overlooked. As the crisis deepens, it raises a difficult question. How long can we celebrate freedom when so many have nowhere to call home? Hit like, comment, and share because this is a story that cannot be ignored. The Sleepless City and Shattered Dreams. New York's lively energy flows through its streets, yet beneath the surface, a harsh reality remains. Once a symbol of hope and opportunity, the city now sees over 100,000 people searching for shelter every night. This surge, more than double the count from 2010, is not simply the result of temporary misfortune. It's a crisis fueled by a housing shortage that continues to consume entire families. In fact, 69% of those in shelters are families with nearly 36,000 children among them starting their days. Not with a meal, but with the uncertainty of another day trapped in limbo. The impact of this crisis is felt most heavily by Black and Hispanic communities who make up the majority of shelter residents. The roots of this inequality are deeply embedded with centuries of systemic barriers contributing to the disparities we witness today. Rising rents, which have increased 20% since 2020, are pushing families and individuals further away from affordable housing, with the average rent now approaching $3,500. Meanwhile, wages have remained stagnant, leaving many renters to spend more than half their income just to keep a roof over their heads. Alongside this growing housing crisis, New York has also become a destination for thousands of asylum seekers. In July alone, more than 35,000 asylum seekers found themselves in shelters, constituting a large portion of the shelter population. These individuals fleeing violence and hardship from abroad now face a new kind of struggle as New York's system strains under the pressure of accommodating them.
A lot of shelters are full, or either they're not full, everybody in there doing drugs, and it just seems like it's no help. I'd rather have a job.
Despite the overwhelming challenges, stories of resilience emerge amid the hardship. A mother in Queens facing the threat of eviction while fighting to keep her family intact. A veteran under the Williamsburg Bridge, his service medals were exchanged for a cardboard sign.
Well, I've been out here about 2 years, man, and I tried the shelter system here. I got into numerous fights trying to protect my gear, people stealing, robbing me. The homeless situation here in New York is atrocious.
These individuals, once vital to the city, now find themselves on the fringes, struggling to survive in a place that promises much but offers little to those who slip through the cracks. Reflecting on this, an important question arises: if New York, the city of dreams, cannot care for its most vulnerable, what does that say about the promises of opportunity America claims to uphold? This crisis is not merely a local issue, it's a national one, requiring our urgent attention. cold numbers, and an exploding trend. By mid-2027, New York's homeless population had surpassed 158,000, representing a significant share of the nation's total. The rate of homelessness in the city has surged dramatically, exceeding the national average by a considerable margin. While many seek shelter in overcrowded facilities, a large number continue to live on the streets, in parks, or within subway stations. Nearly half of those affected are families, including over 146,000 children, whose education and sense of stability are disrupted by their unstable living situations. This crisis has been unfolding for years. After the 2008 recession, homelessness hovered around 39,000. By 2015, the number increased to 60,000 as affordable housing became increasingly scarce. The aftermath of the pandemic only worsened the situation, pushing the total to over 84,000 by 2023. Now in 2025, the numbers have reached levels not seen since the Great Depression, with 158,000 individuals lacking stable housing. Each of these figures represents real lives. Families facing eviction, workers losing their jobs, and those trapped in cycles of medical debt and poverty. Rising rents and stagnant wages are pushing more individuals into homelessness, while the influx of asylum seekers adds to the growing strain. The people behind these numbers are more than just statistics. Many are immigrants fleeing violence or poverty, while others struggle with mental health issues or addiction. A significant portion of non-family households are disabled, their needs unmet by a system stretched beyond capacity. At the core of this crisis are children, almost 36,000 of them, whose futures are clouded by ongoing instability and disruption. This crisis raises an urgent question. Why is this happening when the economy is supposedly recovering? The answer lies in systemic failures, deregulation, and a fractured safety net. New York's escalating homelessness is a microcosm of a national issue that requires immediate action. Only by addressing the root causes can we hope to reverse this trend and rebuild the desperately needed support systems. Fentanyl's silent reaper in the shadows. In the dim glow of New York streets, a lethal danger waits concealed in plain sight. Fentanyl, a powerful synthetic opioid, is devastating the homeless population, claiming lives at an alarming rate. Up to 100 times more potent than morphine, fentanyl has become a silent killer for those already at their lowest, turning every breath into a peril. In 2023, fentanyl was responsible for nearly 80% of the city's overdose fatalities. Though the number slightly decreased in 2024, the drug continues to be a major factor in most overdose cases, particularly among the homeless. The statistics provide a grim snapshot, yet they don't fully capture the scope of the suffering. Approximately 65% of homeless individuals admit to using illicit drugs regularly, with fentanyl often concealed in counterfeit pills or street drugs. For those living on the edge, fentanyl's grip is even more suffocating, especially due to limited access to treatment or harm reduction measures like naloxone, the overdose reversal drug. This is reflected in a 3.2% rise in overdose deaths, correlating with the growth of homelessness, underscoring the profound link between the two crises. The Bronx and central Brooklyn are particularly affected, where fentanyl continues to claim lives both in shelters and on the streets. While overdose rates saw a slight decrease in 2024, the situation remains dire, especially among young people in shelters. Opioid addiction among adolescents has surged by 168% from 2018 to 2022. In one heart-wrenching case, a 4-year-old child in a Brooklyn shelter was exposed to fentanyl, highlighting the pervasive reach of the drug's impact. Why is fentanyl so deadly for the homeless? Isolation is a major factor. Many are left without recovery services or the necessary tools to protect themselves. As fentanyl spreads, the city's response to the crisis appears insufficient. This is more than a health issue, it's a humanitarian crisis. To address it, we must acknowledge the connection between addiction and homelessness and take immediate action before more lives are claimed in the shadows. The perfect storm of inequality. In 2025, New York's homelessness crisis has evolved into a perfect storm, a devastating mix of economic hardship, social instability, and systemic breakdowns. At the heart of this is the housing crisis. With median rents soaring to $3,500 and a critical shortage of affordable housing, many families find themselves on the edge. Since 2016, the number of evictions has surged with inflation and stagnant wages, leaving thousands without a place to call home. Families, particularly those with children, are forced into overcrowded conditions or into shelters. The storm is made worse by social challenges. About 30% of homeless individuals struggle with mental health or addiction, yet only a small percentage receive the support they urgently need. Job losses, unsafe living conditions, and the collapse of safety nets have all contributed to the rise in homelessness. Newcomers, many fleeing economic hardship from other parts of the U.S. or from abroad, only add to the strain on New York's already overwhelmed resources. Over 50,000 new people have entered the shelter system since 2022, with many seeking temporary housing, but never finding lasting stability. The root of the issue lies in a system that consistently fails to prioritize those most in need. Cuts to federal housing funding and insufficient support for migrants and low-income communities have exacerbated the crisis. While the wealthiest areas of the city thrive, those at the bottom are left to fight for survival. Black New Yorkers face evictions at 6 times the rate of others, while immigrants, especially Latinos and Asians, face added challenges in securing housing. This is not a coincidence, but the result of policies that prioritize developers over families and profit over people. However, within this storm, there is hope. If we can tackle the root causes of homelessness and inequality, we can reduce the pressures that are breaking so many lives. Until then, this crisis will continue to serve as a harsh reminder of the choices we make as a society. As we move forward, we must ask ourselves, how can we create a future that lifts up everyone, not just the privileged few? Invisible scars on the city's soul. The homelessness crisis in New York extends beyond mere statistics. It leaves invisible wounds on the very soul of the city. For those living on the streets, the impact is gradual and unrelenting. Health deteriorates quickly due to exposure with infectious diseases, rising 40% among those unsheltered. Children bear the heaviest burden, with over 146,000 school-age children experiencing homelessness over the past year. Their education is disrupted by constant moves from one shelter to another, causing dropout rates to soar. 1 in 5 misses half of the school year, not due to lack of effort, but because of the instability they endure. On a broader level, the city is showing signs of distress. Street crime has increased by 15% in high-density homeless areas, driven not by malice, but by desperation. Minor thefts and altercations stem from hunger and frustration. The healthcare system is overwhelmed with emergency rooms inundated by preventable issues, costing billions in emergency care, rather than addressing the root causes. Tourism, a key part of the city's economy, has dropped by 10%, with visitors citing the visible presence of homelessness as a major deterrent. Economically, the city loses about $10 billion annually as those affected by homelessness struggle to maintain steady jobs, while productivity is lost to illness and instability. The city's spending on shelters has skyrocketed to $4 billion in 2025, diverting funds from other crucial services like schools and transportation. In the midst of this, we find individuals like a veteran at Grand Central Station, once a defender of freedom, is now fighting to survive in the shadows of the city he once served. His story is far from unique. It represents a broader failure of the systems meant to provide support, not abandonment. These unseen wounds are a reminder that homelessness doesn't just hurt individuals, it damages the entire city. As New York's bright lights flicker, they cast long shadows, urging us to face the growing crisis and the moral cost of allowing such suffering to persist. Dawn after the storm. In the midst of the turmoil, there are signs of progress, small yet significant steps toward restoring stability. Mayor Adams' administration, despite its challenges, has made important advances. By August 2025, over 3,500 unsheltered New Yorkers were moved off the streets and subways into permanent housing, a notable achievement driven by outreach teams under the Subway Safety Plan. Launched in 2022, the plan integrated social workers into the transit system, assisting over 1,000 people in securing stable housing, transforming their nights from wandering into restful security. Additionally, the city allocated $650 million to address the immediate needs of the homeless. This funding expanded capacity with 900 new beds for runaway youth, 100 additional spots for homeless young adults in the Bridge to Home initiative, which collaborates with NYC Health plus hospitals to provide housing along with therapy meals and addiction care. These efforts aim to reduce emergency room visits and alleviate the strain on the streets. The city has also made considerable progress in housing production, creating 33,715 affordable units in 2025, marking a record-breaking third consecutive year. This includes 162 supportive homes for vulnerable individuals, and through the Housing Connect lottery, more than 10,000 households were connected to stable housing. Since 2022, nearly 1,200 families have been moved into permanent homes, offering lasting stability for over 26,000 individuals. Nonprofits like the Coalition for the Homeless continue to play a crucial role. In 2024, they helped over 17,000 long-term cases, a 30% increase from the previous year. Their youth programs, backpack drives, and summer camps provide support where government resources fall short. While these efforts are praiseworthy, much more is required. A Housing First initiative could deliver 100,000 affordable units over 5 years, while mobile mental health teams could intervene in crises before they escalate. Partnerships with corporations could offer support for those excluded from the workforce. With ongoing commitment and federal backing, these actions can break the cycle of homelessness, transforming recovery into lasting renewal for New York. A personal reflection echoes from a lifetime of watching. For decades, I've walked the streets of New York, watching it evolve, from a city of hope to one burdened by the weight of inequality. At 72, I've witnessed the rise and fall of America's dreams as policies unraveled the safety nets my parents' generation worked so hard to create, leaving the most vulnerable behind. To me, homelessness is not just a policy concern. It's the quiet reminder that freedom means little when so many are left with nothing. In New York, where I raise my children, I've shared sandwiches with veterans whose eyes tell untold stories and seen mothers whose strength rivals the city's tallest buildings. These moments stay with me more than any headline. Now, in my later years, I feel a sense of responsibility, not despair. We have the resources and knowledge, but what we lack is the determination. The GI Bill elevated a generation. Why can't we invest in people like that once again? Fentanyl's impact is devastating because we treat the symptoms, not the root causes. From my Brooklyn porch, I see hope in small acts of kindness, volunteers, advocates, and those pushing for change. My time is running out, but the torch is passed to you. Look into the eyes of those on the streets. They are our neighbors, and in helping them, we find our redemption. From shadows to light, a call to action. In 2025, New York's homelessness crisis mirrors our collective decisions shaped by priorities and budgets and ballots. The wounds run deep from overcrowded shelters to the chokehold of fentanyl, but so does our capacity for change. Let's embrace equity, expand housing, and integrate care into every part of the city. Let's transform New York from a shining city to a compassionate one, where no one sleeps under the stars, but instead beneath secure roofs with dignity restored. The light is there. We take the step to reach it.